Hello, welcome to this edition of Talking Hope. Today, I am with the amazing Catherine Butcher. She is the editor and the writer of our fantastic Hope Together magazine. Catherine, what got you into magazines?
I've been writing magazines since I was 7. I did my first one with a gang of kids. We sold them to our neighbours and raised money for Oxfam. And then I did a church magazine when I was in my teens and the university magazine when I went to university. And I wanted to learn to write in ordinary language, not churchy stuff. So I trained as a newspaper journalist. And as soon as I finished my training, I went freelance and worked with a friend to produce a magazine that would go to every home in our county. Wow. And as part of that training, I looked for opportunities where anybody was doing something free. And so I drove from the south coast up to the Wirral to find someone doing something up there. And then Campus Crusade for Christ, as they were then known, were producing a magazine that went to every home in Northern Ireland, and they asked me to be the editor. And so that was the first step to doing what we now call Hope for All. I put Dana on the front cover. We had interviews with local people, and at the heart of it, we talked about Jesus. And that's always what I wanted to do. When we did the magazine to every home in East Sussex, which eventually came off, it was drip feeding, not drowning. Just every article had something that made people think, oh, people that I recognise as important, faithful, important celebrities, they have some sort of faith. So that was the beginning of what I then have evolved into the Hope magazines.
Fantastic. And this Christmas, we have another yet great edition. Tell us a little bit about some of the feature. What's the feature gets you most excited?
Oh gosh, that's always a difficult one. I think it excites me when something comes together. So you choose to write, to take a story from Dan Walker's Remarkable People, and you're thinking it's a Christmas issue, and then you discover that in that book there is a police officer that he really admires telling the Christmas story, and then Dan Walker's chosen for Strictly, and you think, wow, this is fantastic, God's on the case. So everybody's going to know about Dan Walker, and he's still in, and I'm just praying that he'll stay in a little bit longer so that people recognise that this is a man who, he's a famous face. He decides not to wear a Halloween costume on the Strictly Halloween thing. He's got some sort of principles. What are these principles? But the book actually doesn't talk about his faith. He chooses remarkable people, but it shows very much that this is a Christian guy. Right. So that excites me. Yeah. And the magazine, if someone's looking at the magazine and saying, well, why doesn't every single story tell me that this person is a Christian and how they came to faith? I think that would become a bit overwhelming and a bit predictable. So I choose the stories about famous people that mention their faith, but I'm relying on the people who give out these magazines to have a conversation, because this is only a conversation starter. It is not going to lead someone to faith. Maybe it will. God uses amazing things, does amazing things, and nothing is impossible for our amazing God. But I'm relying on this as a conversation starter. So when people take it and give it to their friend, they say, have you noticed Sally Phillips is always talking about her son? Did you know that she was a Christian? Did you know that she came to faith because she started writing something about witches and got really scared and decided she had to buy a Bible? And then she was working with some Christians and told them about what was happening in her life, and they prayed with her and she came to faith. And she says, my friends were really surprised I became a Christian, and I still am.
Charlie Murphy, Dan Walker, who else is in there this time?
You've got Marcus Rashford, because he's done some amazing things, raising money. And this is going to be a real issue this Christmas. You've got someone who has raised money and raised the profile of that need to provide food for kids who are in poverty. So we've done that, and then we've matched that up with a story about feeding families in Manchester and how charities are supporting families in need. And then we've got Frank Skinner. Not many people would realise that Frank Skinner, the comedian, is a Christian. And he wrote, in lockdown, he wrote a book about his prayers. And so we've used a few of his prayers, but we've also talked about a huge project that's happening in this country where someone is building an eternal wall of answered prayer. So there's going to be 1 million prayers recorded on bricks that are going to build this amazing new monument that millions of people are going to see as they drive up motorways and fly into airports. So those are the celebrities, but there's also the ordinary people stories too.
It's exciting, Catherine. We just want people to get hold of this magazine and give this out in their communities, at their carol services, in all different places and spaces, to their friends when they're having a coffee. Catherine, where can people get hold of this magazine?
They can buy it hopetogether.org.uk/shop. That's where you can get it. And it's really cheap. It's 10p a copy. I mean, what's not to like? So you can buy hundreds of copies. My mum is my greatest supporter, and she always buys a couple of 100 copies for her church to give away. And they give them away with invitations to the Christmas events. They do door to door. They give them away to toddler group mums, and using them in lots of different ways to tell people this is what we're doing as a church, and you can come and join in.
Amazing. I've had a fantastic time chatting here to Catherine Butcher, who's the incredible person who writes and edits our magazine. So do come to the Hope Together website, get a copy for yourself and find out more. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.